The Papagos have watched over the great southwestern desert since the beginning of time. They know well that the old demons live here. In fact, when the earth and the sky came together, they were there and watched as Brother Elder was born. He still resides here, but resents uninvited guests. They avoid the evil witch Hoyok, who lives in the windy caves. The coyote spirit Bon works his evil pranks in the wide open spaces. Small dark creatures, known to our Yaqui brethren as Shurim, live underground and only come out at night to feed. La Llorona, the wailing ghost, can be heard up in the water canyons, mourning for lost children. And the desert's latest hoodoo, the throat sucker, seen feeding on wild animals and even jumping into the windows of misbehaving children to feed on them while they sleep. The dreaded Chupacabra. There is an ancient way across this desert. The Papagos call it bad medicine. It was formed by the devil himself, the old dragon forging his way across the desert, eating everything in sight. Brother Bighorn arrived and helped make this trail, but he is constantly hunted by the wild dogs. The Spanish conquistadors, not knowing what lay ahead, traveled this way in search of the legendary cities of Cibola, but instead of treasure, they met their destiny. For years, immigrants have been using this road, hoping to find a better life, but most find only death. The pioneers came in search of California gold, but unable to withstand the desert heat, perished. Many just feet from the elusive water source, Tinajas. This is bad medicine, the highway of death. The devil's highway, the El Camino Del Diablo. Our story starts in downtown Oceanside at the Haunted Head Saloon. It's 2020, the year of the pandemic. That's me, Patricio, an unemployed drone pilot. I spend most of my time now here at the saloon. Well, it must be my lucky day. I'm getting a call from my old friend Don Flaco, who is putting together an expedition to the El Camino del Diablo to search for the Chupacabra. I've heard of the Chupacabra. It's an old Mexican wives' tale used to scare the little niños. And he wants me to help document it. Flaco, sensing my skepticism, insists I go see his friend Esteban and to get my things packed. Evidently, Esteban has seen the Chupacabra, and he now spends most of his time out at the old Indian mission. So, I do what Flaco says, and I drive out to the old mission. And there's Esteban. Esteban, soy Patricio. What is your story?
My name is Esteban. I grew up in a small village on the Mexican border in the Pinacate. I lived in a 2-room adobe hut with dirt floors. My brother and I shared one room, and my parents the other. We had no toilet, so my brother and I had to go outside. One night, my brother went outside to pee. That's the last time I ever saw him.
What did you see, Esteban?
I saw nothing. I did hear some huge footsteps in the sand, and the sound of a body being slammed against the ground. I heard my brother's whimpers.
Well, that is a sobering story, but I'm still a skeptic. Meanwhile, Flaco's been busy putting the team together. This is Danny Z, excellent off-roader, throwing a dash of crazy, and we got our team leader.
Personally, there's absolutely nothing more exciting for me than taking off-road vehicles through trails like this. It's a perfect combination between adventure and danger.
This is Bruce the Navigator, renowned researcher, spends a lot of time poring over old maps.
Sonoran Desert is one of the hottest and driest places on Earth. As many as 500 people may have died along this trail.
And my man Connor can build a Toyota from the ground up. He's commissioned on getting us all out in one piece.
El Camino isn't a technically challenging trail, but that doesn't mean that there won't be any breakdowns out there.
We picked up a couple of stragglers, didn't catch their names, and a stowaway.
We're going to be flying on the border. I'm not really sure how Border Patrol is going to feel about us filming and me flying a drone down there. But we'll see how it goes.
I have no word to describe my good friend Flacco, so here he is in the first person.
So this is Pat and my first time spending 3 days on a single trail, and we're really going to have our hands full. We're going to have 6 cameras between us. Pat's bringing a Phantom F4 Pro and a Lumix FC2500. I'll be bringing my Canon 6D for interviews like this, a Canon XC10 for 4K video, and 2 stabilized GoPros for interior vehicle and exterior vehicle shots, and also for time-lapse. GoPros shoot great 4K time-lapse sequences.
So Flacco got the team together, and we pulled out of San Diego heading east on the I-8. We drive to the far side of Yuma, Arizona. The temperature is well over 100 degrees. So this is it. We're leaving the pavement and entering the El Camino Del Diablo. It looks like just another desert dirt road to me, but Danny calls this place the Never Never. There's no cell service, no internet, no facilities or medical available. We are pretty much on our own now. I don't know what these off-roaders see in this desert. There's nothing here but rocks and dirt. Look at these mountains. Not a tree in sight. Piles of dirt with jagged rocks laying about. Everything looks like it wants to scratch you or bite you. Not to mention the heat, which is unbearable and approaching 110 already today. I'm looking forward to 3 sweltering days being bouncing around in this truck. But I might as well sit back and enjoy the next 3 days. I'm entering a trail that has been traveled for over 1,000 years. Water is scarce and temperatures have been recorded as high as 120 degrees. The Spanish priests and soldiers were the first Europeans to travel the road as they tried to colonize the region. In the 1840s, Mexican and Chinese immigrants used the road, as well as wagon trains from the east, in an effort to reach the California gold rush. Many of those who traveled the Devil's Highway were unable to survive in the harsh desert environment and perished along the way. Since European travel, it is estimated that over 2,000 people have died out here, but the death rate has not diminished. Now, increased border security has driven many migrants out into this no man's land. According to Bruce, it's the migrants coming across from the southern borders that are keeping the Devil's Highway death rate up. Poor fools, they must be really desperate to cross this desert on foot. Living under a corrupt system, it's a hard life. So after a couple of cervezas in the local cantina, it is easy for a coyote to convince these poor paseros to turn over their life savings for a promise of the American dream. What a shock when they find themselves abandoned out here on the Devil's Highway. The coyote, long gone. First they're mad at the coyote for stealing from them, and most of all mad at themselves for allowing this to happen. Thank God they left their wives and daughters back home. They've heard of the rape trees. But now they are here. The heat is sweltering, 110 degrees. There's no more time to be mad. They are lost, disorientated, and suffering. All they can do is put one foot in front of the other. But many don't make it. Unable to be identified, many of these poor souls who die out here are known only by the GPS coordinates where they were found. This is the Devil's Highway, the highway of death, the El Camino del Diablo. I think Danny has realized that he may have misjudged the time needed to get to our first camp, Raven Butte. So he pulls the team together and stages the trucks and advises us that we have to pick up the pace. I think the last thing he said was, "Catch me if you can." Well, Danny's strategy worked. We made it to Raven's Butte. Raven Butte is hard to miss. It's a pyramid of black basaltic rock and stands out in bold relief against the cream-colored granite of the Gila mountain range. Raven Butte has been a landmark for centuries for the weary travelers passing through. It stands guard to a canyon that houses the Raven Butte Tinahas, the natural watering holes up in the cliffs, which were the main water source for the indigenous people that lived here. One of the early explorers described it this way: "We found 30 naked and poverty-stricken Indians who lived solely on roots, lizards, and other wild foods." What our explorer didn't realize was that these Indians were not impoverished, but were actually the shamans that looked after the desert. The Indians were the Papagos and are now long gone, but their metates and crude symbols can still be found etched into the canyon rocks. No one comes out here anymore, except fools like us. Well, we set up camp. I thought I'd take a walk. I'm beginning to appreciate this desert. The light changes, and the beauty of the desert emerges. It's cooling off. The sun is setting. The desert is clean and stark and empty. It is quiet here, and there is room to breathe. The simplicity of the desert is augmented by the clarity of the sky. There is no humidity, and things are clear to the point of looking surreal. This is the way the natural world is, beautiful and in balance. Rock, air, light, space, color. The bare bones of our earth, the essence of creation. This is a place of physical and spiritual rejuvenation. I sense the wonder of creation, and I sense the wonder of our Creator. Earlier today, this was just a whitewash of heat and misery. Now, it's magical. In the morning, Danny and Bruce are having a debate. Danny wants to head straight to the Pinacate. Not only are we running out of gas, but the road will be much tougher today as we head around the south end of the range. Bruce wants to stop and search the canyons for the Chupacabra caves. The stowaway decides to put his 2 cents in. I, however, after last night, am content to stay out of the debate. Well, it looks like Bruce won. Danny? I don't know about Danny. So we break camp and head out. We drive a couple miles south to the canyons. Bruce, Robert, and I head out into the canyons to search. Bruce is sure he's found the home of the Chupacabra. The canyon is typical. It's a rugged and rock-strewn series of canyons and gullies leading out into the open desert. The mountains are a stark sawtooth of jagged peaks. There are plenty of caves up here. The elephant tree looks like the only living thing out here. So we scramble around for a couple of hours, and we found caves, but only signs of bighorn. No Chupacabra. So we continue on our way southeast around the mountain range to the Pinacate. The road is becoming a lot rougher. It's not the endless, flat, hot road of yesterday. We're beginning to loop around the mountain range, and the road is steeper and there are more rocks. Plus, the road has become overgrown. It's obvious that not too many travelers have been out this far into the desert. Well, let's jump ahead. We do arrive at the Pinacate in the late afternoon. The Pinacate is a group of volcanic peaks and cinder cones located mostly in the Mexican state of Sonora along the international border. The Pinacate peaks lie just north of the fishing village of Puerto Penasco, probably the pathetic little village Esteban grew up in. The terrain is so extreme that astronauts and lunar equipment trained back here in the 60s, given the terrain's similarity to the moon's surface. The volcanoes have erupted here sporadically since about 4 million years ago, probably in association with the opening of the Gulf of California. The most recent volcanic activity was about 11,000 years ago. There's nothing here but miles and miles of lava fields. The Mexican-Spanish word Pinacate is derived from the Nahuatl tribe's word for the endemic desert stink beetle, Pinacatl. He does look like a little volcano. Back to the team, they are beginning to act a little crazy and out of control. But after the last 2 days, I imagine they need to blow off some steam. After my experience last night, I just want some quiet and reflection in this beautiful desert. So I set up my tent away from everyone else. I don't know what happened to the others, but I was never seen nor heard from again. They say, however, if you stop by the Haunted Head Saloon early in the morning, you just might catch a glimpse of me.
Remember, it's not speed that kills you. It's abruptly stopping that.